four kinds of congruence that we're going to study. The first one is side-side-side, abbreviated SSS, and that tells us all three sides of one triangle are congruent to all three sides of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So what we do is we take a triangle, and because I want them to actually be congruent, copy and paste it. Okay. And if I say this is triangle ABC, and this is triangle EFG, I need AB to be congruent to EF, BC to be congruent to FG, or AC and AC to be congruent to EG. So all three have to happen. So if that happens, if we have three sides that are congruent, all three sets, then the triangles are congruent, which would mean that the angles would also be congruent. So if you have all three sides congruent, all three angles would also be congruent. We're going to have side, angle, side. Okay, now these have to go in order, like as you move around the triangle. So side, side, side is easy. That doesn't really matter. But side, angle, side, it's so it's two sides and the included angle. So if two sides and the included angle of one triangle are congruent to two sides and the included angle of another, then the triangles are also going to be congruent. So again, and we take our triangles, okay, so to tell side, angle, side, you go around the triangle and you get a side, and then the angle, and then the other side. So the angle has to be between the two sides. So for example, if these two sides were congruent and these two sides were congruent, I would need this angle to be the congruent angle. If it was this angle F or G, that wouldn't work. It has to be the angle between the two sides. So AC has to be congruent to EG. Angle A has to be congruent to angle E, and then AB congruent to FG. No, sorry, EF. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be those particular angles. I could have angles B and F be congruent if AB and BC. So it has to be the angle between the two sides. So the letter of the orders tell you what order the things have to be in. So side, and then an angle, and then a side.
What about if it was angle A and angle G?
If If we had an angle A and then angle G, no. It has to be the two angles between the sides. Good? Okay. Okay, so what we're going to look at is how to tell if the triangles are congruent or not. Okay, so if we look at number 1, we have a side. Those sides are congruent. We have an angle. And then we have another side. So if they share a side, it's the same length, right? So we have side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. So we're in the right order. So these are congruent, and we would know because of side, angle, side. If we look at one line number 2, we have side, we have an angle, and we have a side. But if you look here, we have side, angle, side. But here we have side, side, angle. The angle we would need to be congruent, we would need this one. We don't have this one, we have that one. So while we have side, angle, side on one triangle, we have side, side, angle on the other. So this is a no.
So it has to be on this.
It has to go in the right order. It has to be side, and then angle, and then side.
Can never be side, side.
We have side, side, side. You have to have all 3 sides. You have to have 3 things for it to work. And so for this particular side, we need side, side, side. So all 3 sides, or side, angle, side, and the angle has to be in the middle. If we read this way, it would be angle, side, side.
Wait, how do you read it?
If we go, you just, like here I go side, and then angle, and then side. I go in order around the triangle. If I go this way, I have side, side, angle. If I go this way, I have angle, side, side.
And
There's no angle, side, sides.
So what's up with that line? Why do you have line?
Because that is the line that they have in common. It's the same length, so they're congruent. Because they share a line. If they share a line, it's congruent. But if you read it this way, you get angle, side, side. And if you spell angle, side, side, it's a word that we're not allowed to use, right? No,
Angle side?
no, angle, side, side.
Oh, angle side.
Yeah, think about what that spells.
Yeah, okay.
No, we don't have any of those in geometry. So this one would not work. The angle has to be between the 2 sides. Okay, does that make sense? All right, if we come down to, say, number 5.
Wait, could you just do number 3? So, because I think that
Angle, side, angle. Right? Is that right? Angle, angle, angle.
We have 2 sides. We have 2 angles. And then we have another side. And if we read them in order, we go angle, side, side, angle, side, side, angle, side. So it's SAS, so that's okay.
even though those little things in the middle don't meet up?
They don't, no, they won't meet up. Because if they meet up, you're talking about the whole angle. So like this, let me show you. If you have that, and they meet up, you're talking about this whole angle, not the individual parts.
Okay.
When they're like this, and they don't meet up, you're talking that these 2 angles are the same.
The same?
Yeah, because they have 1 line each.
Okay, I got you.
And then another side may look like this and have 2. So something like that. But if the line meets up and it goes all the way across, it's talking about the big
So
angle.
So when they split, those two angles can't be different? Is there?
They can be different.
Oh,
It's if they're different,
it'll be a 1 and then a 2.
yeah, so you might have a 1 and a 2 like that. Does that help? All right, so let's look at number 5. Yeah, we have a side. We have another side. And then we have another side. So yes, side, side, side. And it has to be all 3 sides. We can't just have 2 of the sides that match.
Would 4 be right or no?
No.
Side, angle, side.
Because right here we've got side, angle, side, but then here I have angle, side, side. And we don't have angle, side, side. Okay. So does that sort of make sense? What you're looking for? Okay, if you flip to the next page, it's asking us what additional information would we need to know if it was congruent. So we want side, angle, side. I have sides. I have one side. And I have vertical angles. So because they're vertical, I know those are true. That they're the same. So I need one more side. So I would need JI to be congruent to IE. That's the information I would need. I would need these sides to be the same.
So do you want us to write JI or IE, or can we just mark the,
You could mark
two
it.
slashes?
Yeah, you can mark it. That would be okay. So if I look at, say, like number 12, I have 2 sides. I need L to be congruent to H. So I can have side, angle, side. Does that make sense?
So you just put whatever you did.
Whatever you need. What's the missing piece?
So we'll put 13.
13, I have this side that there's being shared, right? These sides are congruent, so I need these 2 sides to be congruent also, to be side, angle, side, or side, 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 right? Because I have these 2, so I need these ones.
And then it's the same thing for 14.
Uh-huh. And 15, I have one side and one angle, one side and one angle, so I need the other side.
So at 14, we needed line RT to be congruent with line Z. That's
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, not ZY?
ZY
Oh,
is
sorry,
already,
I thought we just jumped it.
yeah, it's already marked. So on 15, I have a side, I have an angle, I need the other side on the other side of the angle. Now, you can't mark VW and ZY because I need the sides on either side of the angle, right? Because I need it to be side and then an angle and then another side.
So WU to be congruent with ZX.
ZX, yeah.
So for 17 and 18, E and Q and R and B have to have the angles?
17?
17 and
No, not E and Q, because I'd have side, side, angle, or angle, side, side.
Oh,
It has to be the angle in between the 2 sides. So it would have to be here. And if you were labeling those, that would be E, F, G, and Q, F, G. Okay, so just be really careful with that. On 18, you're missing 2 pieces of information. Oh, no, you're not. Sorry. These are already congruent because they're vertical. So you're missing 1 piece of information. Okay. So any more questions on those?
So in side, angle, side, we're just missing.
Okay, with angle, side, angle congruence. Again, we're going to follow the letters, follow the order.
Is that supposed to be 1? Including sides of on?
Oh, yeah, it should be 1 triangle. Sorry. Okay, so what we have with this one is we have two angles and then the side in between those two angles. So before we had two sides and the angle in between the sides. So this is the opposite. So what we'll have is, say for example, angle A will be congruent to angle E. And if angle B is congruent to angle F, there's my two angles. I need the side in between them. I need AB to be congruent to EF. So So we had all three sides, and then you have two sides with the angle in between, and now we have two angles with the side in between. And so the order is very important, so we need that side in between the angles to be the same. So for this last one, you have angle, angle, side. So again, it goes in order. So you have an angle, and then you have an angle, and then you have the side that follows. So like next to the two angles instead of in between. So it can either be like angle and then this side, or it could be angle and then this side. But it's the side next to the two angles that are congruent. So if angle A is congruent to angle E and angle C is congruent to angle G, I would either have to have AB or BC. So I'm just going to do BC. So angle A congruent to angle E, angle G congruent, let me do angle C, sorry.
Could E and F and A and B also be congruent as well?
Which one?
A and B and E and F?
Yeah, you'd have one or the other. You'd need to have one.
Both.
If you had both, you're fine, yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because what happens is once we have three of those things that are allowed, so once I know A, C, and BC, and then EG and FG are all congruent, that means every single thing in the triangle is congruent.
Yeah.
So you can have more than you need, you just can't have less than you need, and they can't be in the wrong order.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anytime you have more information, that's just bonus. Oops. Okay, so like I was saying, once we have the three that we need, it's okay to have four things. There's 6 pieces of information altogether that will be congruent between those two triangles. If the triangles are congruent, you've got 3 sides and 3 angles. So that's 6. So you can have anywhere from 3 to 6 pieces of information. I can't prove anything with less than 3. I have to have at least half of the information. And they have to be in the right combination. And those combinations are the side, 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 angle, angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side. The one that doesn't work is angle, side, side. We don't have that. And it's not just because we don't want bad words. Like it actually does not work. Because they would just put it SSA if it worked, right? They wouldn't put ASS. But it actually will not work.